Hi, I'm Simone from Sweetheart Cakes and Bakes, and today we're going to be making a chocolate cake. This is a lovely 3-layered chocolate cake that I've done here. It's got almonds in it as well, and it's covered in strawberries, although it's not strawberry flavoured. But firstly, what I wanted to talk about was my subscribers. I wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who's subscribed already. I really do appreciate it. I can't believe I've managed to get to 24, to be honest with you. I know that seems like quite an insignificant amount for a lot of people, but I didn't think I would get any at all, so I'm really happy and excited about that. And I'm happy that I've managed to reach that 2,000 views on my videos, so really excited. So what I wanted to do was say thank you to everybody. And so what I'm doing is I'm giving away this very fetching Kath Kidson apron. It is brand new, and this giveaway is open to all of my subscribers, so anybody who subscribes to my channel before the 1st of April will have the opportunity to win this very fetching apron. I'll just be selecting a name at random, and you don't have to do anything else, you just have to subscribe. But if you do want to leave a comment, that would be absolutely amazing, and if you really feel like it, you can like it as well, that would be awesome too. So thank you so much. Any of my subscribers can win this, but moving on to the video. Okay, so I'm making today, or I've already made, this chocolate cake. Now, you can either make just a chocolate version of this cake, or you can make the triple version, the triple layered version here. Now, if you just want to make the single version, then what you do is you just make the chocolate cake and you miss out the vanilla sponge, because it is a little bit of an extra layer that you can make there, so it is a bit more work. But either way, it's absolutely amazing. And then I've covered it in a chocolate ganache. Now, I've decorated this with strawberries. You don't need to. You can either leave this just as is, or you can decorate it with any fruit or anything that you like. You can also switch out the ganache for buttercream if you prefer, but I just thought I'd do something a little bit different for this video. Now, if you wanted to make this look a little bit more professional, because it does look quite homemade to be honest, what you can do is you can make all of the levels even before you put them together. So I didn't do that because this is just a quick cake that I've made. But if you wanted to spend the extra time to make it more professional, what you would do is you would make all of the levels absolutely flat, then turn them over so that the flat bit that was in the bottom of the pan is now on the top to make it smooth. And then you would get a much smoother finish with this. You can also make your ganache in different quantities, and I will put that in the box below, and then you'll get a thicker ganache, and you could also use that to make it look a little bit more professional. And as I say, you don't need to use strawberries, you can use anything. You can maybe use raspberries, or you could decorate it with chocolates that you bought, like from a box of chocolates or something. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video, and feel free to leave any comments in the box below.
To start this cake, we're going to mix together our butter and sugar until light and fluffy. I'm using both white and golden caster sugar for a more caramel taste, but you can just use white granulated. If you did want to make caster sugar, you don't need to for this recipe. You can put your white sugar, your granulated sugar, into a food processor and then just cut it down until it's really fine. Now, once your mixture is really light and fluffy and pale, you're then ready to add your vanilla extract or whichever extract you choose, and then mix together until just combined, and then you're ready to add your eggs. Now, I only buy medium free range eggs, so when you're making your cake, you may wish to take the size into account, and you may not need to add all of the egg to your cake mixture. You may wish to leave a little bit out if you feel like maybe there's a little bit too much egg. Now, I like to break mine into a bowl first before adding to the overall cake mixture, but you don't need to, but it does give you an opportunity. If there's a chance that any shell may have got into your cake, it gives you an opportunity to remove that before adding it to your cake mixture. So now we're ready to add our dry ingredients. We're going to be adding and sifting as well our flour, baking powder and our cocoa, and we're also going to be adding our almonds. Now, I always like to sift cocoa first, just because I often find that it's quite lumpy and we want to get rid of any of those lumps before we add it to the cake batter. Now, this mixture will be quite stiff and dry until we add the milk, so take your time, try not to overmix, just be firm with it, and once you feel like it's properly combined, then we're ready to add our milk. You may not need to add much milk at all. If you've got quite a loose batter because perhaps you've used larger eggs, it could be that you only need a tablespoon of milk. If, however, you've got quite a stiff mixture, then it is better to add more milk, as adding more milk will give you a much more tender crumb. So all you need to do is add enough so that you get a dropping consistency. And by that I mean that when you put some of the batter onto your spatula, if you have to shake it really hard for it to come off, it's just not got enough milk. If, however, it's really runny, then that would be too much milk. So just add a little bit at a time until you get a nice, even, smooth mixture that's not too runny. I've prepared a tin by rubbing it with butter, and then instead of using flour, I've used cocoa to dust around the outside so that I don't have any white marks on my cake once it's done. Now you need to try and level the cake batter out, and you can do this by shaking it from side to side, or with the back of a spoon or a spatula, moving it around the outside, making sure not to get too many air holes, and also to make sure it's as level as possible, even into the corners. So this is a really quick sponge. Now it is completely optional, but if you do want to make a triple layer instead of double layer cake, then this is what you need to add. So all you're going to do is cream together your butter and your sugar until it's light and pale and fluffy, and then you're going to add your eggs. With the eggs, you break them into a bowl first, whisk them with a fork, and then you can add them slowly to your cake batter. Next, we're going to add our dry ingredients to this mixture. So we're going to sift together our baking powder and our self-raising flour and mix those. And then to make it a little bit lighter and a little bit looser and a lighter overall sponge cake, we're going to add a little bit of milk. It doesn't need to be a lot, perhaps 2 or 3 teaspoons will do. Maybe a little bit more if you've used some smaller eggs. Then you're going to put them into your tin. Now, if you've used sandwich tins, then you would just use a second tin. If, as with my cake, you've got one tin alone, then after my chocolate cake had cooled, I took it out of the tin, put it onto a cooling rack, washed the tin, re-buttered it and floured it, and then it's ready for me to add this cake batter to it. This will ensure that both of my cakes are exactly the same size. It's going to go in on the same heat again, which is 150 degrees or gas mark 2, 300 Fahrenheit. And that's just going to go in and cook. Now it will cook a little bit quicker. I think mine took about 20 minutes. Just keep an eye on it, and as soon as it's golden brown, take it out of the oven and then put it on a cooling rack. Once both of your cakes are cooling on a rack, you're ready to make the ganache, and it is really, really simple. Only has 2 ingredients, and it is a really nice alternative to buttercream. So all you have to do is put your double or heavy cream into a saucepan. Do not use single cream. It really does need to have at least 35% fat content. So you put that into a pan and you bring it slowly to the boil. And as soon as that happens, in fact it doesn't even really need to be boiling, just really hot so you can see bubbles at the side, then you're going to add your chocolate. These need to be either chocolate drops or chocolate shavings. Don't just add a lump of chocolate. And you're going to add that in there and you're going to let it melt for around about 30 seconds before you take your wooden spoon or your heat-proof spatula and you mix it in the saucepan until it is completely the same colour. So you're looking for a really nice golden chocolatey colour. I'm now going to pour out around about half of this ganache into a bowl. This is just a bowl I took out of the cupboard, but it is much cooler than the saucepan, and this means that the contents is going to cool a lot quicker than it would if it was in the saucepan. The reason that we're doing that is we don't want it to be quite as liquidy because we're going to be putting this into our cake to almost glue the layers together. So I'm just going to leave that out in a cool place for around about an hour, and then it'll be cool enough for us to use. Now that both cakes have cooled, and then depending on your climate, it's taken about an hour for me, but it might take a little bit longer depending on where you live, so once they've cooled, you can cut them. Make sure your cake is properly cold before you try to cut it. I'm using a really sharp serrated bread knife to do this, but you can use any knife that you like, provided that it will cut through your cake, and I'm just going all the way around the edges and then through the middle so that I can take the top off nice and neat. Now that our ganache and our cake have cooled and everything's split and we're ready to just put this cake together, we're going to add our ganache, half of the bit that we put aside to cool, to this layer of cake. I'm using a plastic butter knife, but you can use anything, perhaps the back of a spoon or an offset spatula. All you need to do is make sure that you get a good even layer of ganache all over this cake, and you don't need to worry at all if it goes over the sides. Now you can put this cake, if you like, onto the cooling rack and do this whole process on the cooling rack so that when you put the ganache on the top of the cake it will fall directly onto your work surface. I've decided not to do that because I want to collect the ganache at the bottom, but if you do want to do it the other way around and you don't want to have any excess attached to your cake, then you would just put it onto the cooling rack. This is now my middle layer. I'm going to repeat the exact same process that I did on the first layer, which is to flood the whole of this layer with the ganache, making sure I get an even coating all over it, and again it really doesn't matter if you get it over the sides. Now we're ready to add the top of the cake. Just slide this on into place and just make sure that all of your layers look like they're roughly in line with each other. We're then going to add the rest of our ganache. So all you need to do is just pour this ganache all over the top of the cake, really trying to make sure that you don't leave any corner or part of the cake that is not covered in the ganache. I've added strawberries to the top of my cake and I coated them in chocolate, but you can add any decoration that you like. Just be sure to leave it a few moments after you've put the ganache on the cake for it to set a little before trying to add them. So you don't want it to set 100%, you just want to leave it so that the things that you put on the top of the cake don't slide off. So thank you so much for watching. If you do want to enter the giveaway, then please do so. But I hope you have a go at making this cake. It really is amazing, it's definitely worth the effort, and it is a lovely moist cake. Thanks for watching.